Like there was big times, big performances everywhere. Cole Hocker gets the double. He goes, wins the 3,000 on Saturday, and then the 1,500 on Sunday. 1,500 got a little bit easier because Cooper Tier had to withdraw from the meet because of COVID. But still, Hocker got it done again with this double. The 15 was tougher. He had to really claw that last 50 to get by Josh Thompson. 3K more to form. Did anything here surprise you from Cole Hocker?
Not really, man. This was the most unsurprising double. Typically, when you see doubles at indoor championships, you're like, "Whoa!" You're like, I remember seeing Shelby doing it when Paul Chelimo was doing it. A bunch of other athletes seeing them double. You're like, you are like the star of running in the U.S. for like this year. But
Yeah,
there was just so much expectation that Cole Hocker was just clearly better than everyone else in that field. And then once Cooper Tier pulled out, it became even more obvious. I mean, I don't think this double happens if Cooper Tier is racing in the 1,500. I think Cooper would have won the 15. Let's put on a tinfoil hat. Maybe
don't put on your tinfoil
maybe Cole Hocker found a way to like put a little COVID in his, his hot tea late last night, the night before the meet.
Not how it works. Not how that works.
That's not how it works.
No, not how it works.
COVID pill or something like that.
So, what do you think? Watching the 1,500, I was struck by a couple things. It didn't go that fast, and these guys have been pushing it this year, particularly guys like Colby Alexander. Did you think, like midway, pull up Hawker's placing here? He was buried for a bit there. Do you think because he was coming back for the double, do you think there was an opportunity for the rest of the field here to really like put their foot down and they missed it? Because he was in 10th place. You're looking at 700, he was at 10th place and then moved up. Even with 500 to go, or sorry, with 600 to go, he was in 6th place. I thought that like Thompson and those guys in Win, like their best chance would have been a 333 type race, 334 type race. But it just became inevitable really quickly. But for a while, that Hawker was pretty far back. Do you think, and I saw afterwards, Thompson said he was surprised by Hawker coming up on him on the outside. I don't know how anybody can be surprised by a Cole Hocker kick at this point. Like, is there anything they could have done to beat him? Because when I was watching, I found myself saying like, hey, middle of the race, this guy's pretty far back and he's got a 3K in his legs. He might be vulnerable here, but you got to get the pace going. Did you see any of that? Or do you think it was just Hawker was going to move regardless of where the pace went?
No, I don't think a fast pace would have changed anything. I think Hawker would have moved up at just adapted to whatever pace it was going to be. Hawker is not a person where I look at him like he only can handle specific styles of races. I mean, as from what I see right now, I mean, maybe that will change. Hawker has yet to show that he can handle like 330 races, right? Like 330, 329 races, but that's, crazy Monaco level.
It's pretty much everybody.
Type. Yeah. But he shows that he can handle 335s and 340 type races.
Yeah.
I think the only way Hawker would have lost this race is if the dynamics of an indoor track with it only being 200 meters and just shuffling around, if there was like a barricade created where he wasn't able to get around a certain athlete and it kind of just staggered his stride a bit and lost a little bit of momentum. And then someone like Thompson took advantage of that. Because Thompson, he only lost by like 0.1. It wasn't like a blowout pulling away. That I think if there was a little more pushing and shoving on an indoor track, maybe that would have been a way for Thompson to have enough real estate to pull it off.
He needed every inch to get past him. That's why I thought, man, if you just put a little bit more into him in the first half of that race, then you could have had a different result. And because he was coming off a 3K and Thompson wasn't, most of these other guys weren't. And Alexander probably not, not his best race. We've seen him run really fast this year. Angles, I think you needed someone really just to go for it and try to string it out. But you could be right. He could have just figured out whatever the game plan was and rolled with it comfortably. But he gets the double. Has he? I don't think he's announced yet whether or not he's running. Do you think he's going to run Worlds?
That fact that that question is being spoken is sad for our sport. He hasn't really announced it yet. Do you think he's running Worlds? What do we have in a
Well,
world? What do we have in a USA Championship for? If like we have to, I'm not criticizing you. I'm just like just criticizing our sport. How we don't know. There's like a are they? Are they not? I don't know. Maybe. Do they have the standard? Do they don't? All this stuff.
well, so there's two parts to it. There's the part that we talked about last week. It's like who's going to show up to the meet. And the second part is who's going to actually go to Worlds. And people forget about the second part sometimes because they get so upset
Yeah.
about people not being there that there's this whole group of other people. And it's not a huge number, but even if it's 3 people turning down spots, it's pretty crazy because that doesn't happen outdoors at all. So I don't know. And usually when people say I don't know right after, that turns into a no. Because if it was a yes, you'd say yes, and then you'd get right into team processing and doing all that stuff. But or you pass it to the next person down, and then you let them know. I don't know. I'm if he runs a 15, you can see him against Ingebrigtsen. I guess you can see him against Ingebrigtsen in the 3, and the 3 is going to be crazy too because we know how good Ethiopia has been this year in the 3,000. That with Aragawi and Gurma, Barega, Wale, that like whole crew. Like they have a bunch of people to choose from. You have the Spanish guys in Katir and McCall. It's going to be a good race, I think, at World Indoors in the 3, and it could be a good one in the 15 as well too, especially if we get most of that top 5 or at least some of that top 5. So I don't know. That's why I was asking. I legitimately don't know. All right, let's move on though.